It's no secret my taste in tabletop games tends towards epic board games replete with miniatures that have compelling narratives at their core. These are the games, the stories, that stick in my memory long after the dice are put away and make me long for the next opportunity to play. But such games have time and space requirements that do not suit every situation. With summer on the way in the UK and holidays just around the corner, my mind turns to smaller but no less engaging games better suited to gameplay on the move. Red7 fits this space within my collection perfectly. It is an unassuming, if colourful game that I probably wouldn't have played but for the kind recommendation of a friend, but from my first playthrough I knew I had to own a copy. This surprisingly mind-bending game from Carl Tudyk and Chris Cheslick consists of 49 rainbow-coloured cards forming 7 colour suits numbered from 1 to 7. During the game, the uppermost card on a discard pile, known as the canvas, will dictate the rule that currently determines which player is in a winning position. At the start of the game, this rule will be highest number, i.e. the player who has the card with the highest number in play, known as their palette, is currently winning. The box tagline tantalizingly declares, "Win or you're out," but that probably isn't the most helpful summary of the gameplay experience. Rather, when it is your turn, you must play cards that result in you taking the winning position from the other players, or else you will lose that round, with the last remaining player being the winner of a given round. You can achieve this in 3 ways. You can play a card from your hand to your palette, if it will result in you being in first place. For example, here we could play this 6 from our hand, a higher value than the other player's 5, which is currently winning. Alternatively, we could change the rule that is currently in place by discarding a card from our hand to the canvas. For example, by discarding a violet card, the win condition becomes most cards below 4 wins, so the other player's 5 is no longer useful, and our 3 puts us in the winning position. You can also do both, playing a card to your palette and then a second to the canvas. For example, if we add this 4 to our palette instead, and change the rule to most even cards wins by discarding a green card to the canvas, we also conclude our turn in the winning position. The choice is yours, providing you have the necessary cards and your move results in you taking the winning spot. In the event that 2 players have the most cards for the current rule, the winning player is considered the player with the highest value card among those cards that are contributing to the current win condition. If these highest value cards have the same number, then the winning player is the one with the colour closest to red in the spectrum. If you're unable to place yourself in the winning position out of all the players in the game, or in the more advanced version of the game choose not to as a strategy to limit your opponent's score, then you lose the round. Once only one player remains, they are considered the winner. The game instructions recommend starting with this basic version of the game, as do I. These apparently simple rules provide a colourful spectrum of possible scenarios, choices, and strategies. Each turn feels vital and exciting as you figure out the move that will allow you to win temporarily, but also plan for future turns, predict your opponent's strategy, and try to conserve the cards that you will need to keep you in the game as long as possible. The 2 further gameplay options included, however, elevate this game to something truly special. Firstly, Advanced Red7 introduces 2 further tools to enhance your gameplay. The first is a mechanic to allow you to acquire more cards to your hand. Now, every time you discard a card to the canvas, you may draw a card from the draw pile, as long as the number on the card you discarded is higher than the total number of cards on your palette. Suddenly, it can be worth discarding a higher value card to the canvas to build resources for your future turns. Additionally, at the end of each round, the winning player will take those cards that contributed to their win and place them underneath their reference card. A new round will then begin with these cards absent from the game. Once a player reaches the required points total from adding these winning cards together, or it is not possible to deal a new game due to lack of cards, the game ends and the player with the highest value of cards under their reference card wins. This changes everything. Individual rounds of Red7 are suddenly less important, and the odd mistake or poor hand is compensated for by the multiple rounds while you try to reach a critical number of points. You also have the option to voluntarily lose a round, denying your opponent opportunity for additional points. Once you've played a few games of Advanced Red7, I can really recommend introducing the action rules, or as I like to regard them, the super advanced rules. The 4 odd-numbered cards from each colour contain an icon reminding you of their additional optional special rule. If you play this mode, you must perform the action from the odd-numbered cards whenever you play them to your palette. Sevens will make you choose a card from your palette and place it on the canvas or on the draw deck, making playing these top-value cards just that bit more dangerous. Play a 5 and you will immediately play a second card from your hand to your palette if possible, playing that card's action as well if applicable. On a 3 you will draw a further card from the draw deck, and lastly if you play a 1, you will take a card from the palette of your opponent and place it on top of the draw deck. The basic rules of this game are straightforward enough, but the gameplay is tense and you will need to concentrate on every card played to be effective on your turn. By the time the additional rules have been added, the game becomes a brain melter in the most delightful and colourful way. Suddenly nothing about the game state is immutable. You will leave your turn in a winning position, your strategy for the next turn already planned out, only to find that by the time your next turn comes around, everything has shifted. Red 7 can be played with 2 to 4 players, and it's undoubtedly at its most crazy and fun when you have the maximum players around the table. However, I have played some extremely satisfying games with only 2 players, where although a little of the game's madness is absent, it really feels like a mental duel from which only you or your enemy can survive. The simplicity of the rules, which total just 8 tiny pages in all, make it a great game to introduce to casual gamers, as does the use of simple numbers and colours of the rainbow, which anyone can easily understand. As 3 modes of play exist, new players can start playing the basic game until they feel they have the hang of the format, and then take on more advanced play. It is also perfectly achievable to go from playing the basic game for the first time to playing all the advanced rules in a single gaming session, as a single round can last as little as a few minutes. The game is rated for players aged 9+, and whilst we always leave age appropriateness as a decision for individual parents, I would be unsurprised to find the basic mode suits reasonably switched on 7-year-olds just fine, perhaps after a few playthroughs. With a price tag that won't break tight gaming budgets and a convenient little box that is ideally suited for travel, Red 7 really deserves to be a game in the public consciousness like other more classic games from which it clearly draws some inspiration. So is there any reason you shouldn't add this game to your collection? As I've hinted already, sometimes the way the game describes itself in the rules is great for sales-oriented sound bites, but actually makes the game more complicated to understand than it actually is. For example, the game is very keen to use the language of painting to convey elements of the game state, describing the pile of cards holding the current rule as the canvas, and the cards in play in front of the player as the palette. But the components do nothing to reinforce this understanding. You could call the canvas the palette and vice versa, and nothing at all about the game would change. And yet the fact the rules use these terms means that you need to know which is which sometimes, leaving new players to pause and wonder, wait, is this the palette or the canvas? And more importantly, why does that matter? Additionally, and we're really getting down to tiny niggles here, although the basic game is simple and suitable for a wide range of skill levels, once you have played Red 7 with all its advanced rules in play, I guarantee it will never feel the same playing the basic mode. Depending on how accommodating your gaming group is, there is opportunity for new players to be put off if they find themselves in a round with players who are not only impatient for the full rule set to be in play, but also already understand intuitively the more advanced mechanics. Once you know these negatives exist, however, they are really easy to overcome with just the minimum of consideration for your fellow players. Red 7 is an elegant, polished game with a style and mechanics that have the potential to entertain almost any gamer. It is fiendishly addictive, every round resulting in that just one more factor that I prize in games like this. But best of all, it is a game for almost anyone and can be played almost anywhere. Play it with your kids on a train. Play it with your granny at a picnic. Play it at your favourite pub with those friends you have that aren't really into board games. Or play it between more complicated games as a palate cleanser on your local gaming night. If you like this kind of gameplay experience, Red 7 could be exactly the splash of colour that you are looking for. Let us know in the comments if you've played and enjoyed this game, or whether you disagree with my praise of it. We always love to hear from our viewers. While you're at it, let us know what game you would like us to review next, and we'll see if we can get it into the pipeline. Lastly, please do subscribe if you haven't, and share this video with any friends you think would enjoy it. We know you are bombarded with such requests on every video you watch, but it really does make an incredible difference to the growth of our modest channel. Until we meet again, fellow gamers, be sure to work hard, play better, and take care out there.